A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Well, there we are. All right. There was a little delay. Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Man, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope everybody was thankful for at least something in their lives. And let's try to hold that near and dear to our hearts. We are powered by the OBBM network, and we got so much going on in the next couple of months. We don't have enough time in this episode to cover it, but we will touch on a lot of things. But we have a special guest tonight, Dr. Olivia Johnson, who we are blessed to have on the show, who's bringing such new technology and new innovative modalities to the mental health world. And, you know, I can't wait to hear a lot that she's got going on. But before we start, I do want to give a big shout out to Mike Barron of the Blues Magazine on 40 years of his publication. His online publication is one of the largest online police publications in the world, which covers so much stuff, especially the mental health aspect. And I think if you go onto the Blues Magazine website, you're going to see so much information there if you are a law enforcement officer. So congratulations to Mike Barron and the whole staff at the Blues Magazine for your monthly contributions on this. Contributions.
Well, it is. You made up a word, but that's okay.
I always make up words.
I love it. What was it?
Contribution. See, I said it right.
Yeah.
Contribution.
I'm trying to say what you said before. Anyway,
I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, hopefully if you're not subscribed to it and it's all online, I mean, by this time it's like, get out from under the rock, because over just the past, it's been 2 years that we've been involved with the publication. Not only has it grown in terms of, more pages, but the contributors and the stories that Mike puts into it. It has got so much to take in. It takes days to go through it, but every month that it comes out, I like you have said, John, take something from it, kind of stick it in your pocket, and then it always seems to come up when you need to remember something. It's like, oh yeah, I read that in the Blues PD Mag. Yeah. So stay tuned. Yes, happy 40th. I think we should just dive right into it, because you said it. When it comes to your mental health, Blues PD Mag is a great place just to peruse, because you never know what story is going to impact you, how the author is going to impact you. You can reach out to the contributors directly, just like our next guest from the Blue Wall Institute. Let's welcome Dr. Olivia Johnson. Welcome, Doc Johnson, to the Badge of Honor podcast.
Hey, thanks guys for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Let's dive right in. Please tell everybody listening and watching about your background.
Sure. So I'm former law enforcement and former military veteran with the Air Force. I'm a proud mama too, grown kids. Thank God for that, right? Out of the house too. That's even better, right?
They'll make you mentally healthy.
Right. So that's how it's supposed to be. You raise them when they're supposed to leave. Married to a wonderful husband. I've got quite a few animals. I'm a huge pet lover. But I think more importantly, though, is I run an organization called the Blue Wall Institute, as you can see behind me. We do research. We do needs assessment, consulting work. And I think the thing that I love the most is the training component. I love speaking and helping our first responders. I've really dedicated, I think, the majority of my adult life to doing this. I just see the need to help those that do the work behind the scenes, keeping them as healthy and fit and mentally in the game as we can, and their families. And I think that's just what I feel I've been called to do. So that's really what I've really spent my time doing. And I spend literally every waking moment, if you will. I spent literally my holiday doing that. I just find it really, I think, comforting knowing that we're keeping them as fit as we can and looking for those in the next few generations to be able to get there as well and stay there.
You know,
go ahead, John.
I was going to say, Olivia, you hit a key word that kind of resonates with me, is the research. Because there are so many, I want to say, organizations out there that just rely on experience or rely on past history. But the research is so important to find out what is working and what is not working. And, you know, that is the main component to really get mentally healthy. It's that research behind the training. And if you don't have that proper research, then the training is just something that everybody's heard before.
John, it's the same old. We tell them that we don't operate on feelings. We operate on facts. Feelings have their place, but feelings are fleeting and they can lead people down a bad road. And everybody has feelings, right? And we operate on facts. We have this stuff backed up by research. And a lot of times people don't like to even listen to that when you have research to back it up, right? Because they know something. Well, that's great that you know something, but guess what? That's not getting us anywhere. And I'm tired of going to the same old training where they tell you the same old shit. No, sorry. They tell you the same old shit that everything's heard. And guess what, guys? We're in the same spot we were for the last 40 years. And guess what? We're having the same problems that we had 40 years ago and nothing has changed. And we're tired of it. And we said enough is enough. So we're taking what we've learned. We have the only database in the world right now that tracks 122 data points of people that have died by suicide, murder-suicide, and non-fatal attempts, right? The FBI, you know what they have? They have 6 data points. It's voluntary. They have 32 cases of suicide. That tells us nothing. I said, what are you going to get out of that? Nobody's putting anything into this. You know, we've called in and we've offered to help them. No calls back. Right? No calls back. So I said, either you want to, you either want to help this problem or you are the problem at this point. Right? So we said enough's enough. We are tired of seeing cases like this. Now, suicide is not an epidemic, but it's something that can be resolved if we look at this in a different way. And we can look at this in a different way by looking at what's happened and what are the causes behind the issues that we're seeing. And we've done that. And we've given them 10 factors. We call them the fatal 10. And we said, here are the 10 issues we're seeing behind these suicides. And here's what we need to do, guys. This is a roadmap. We're seeing the domestic issues. We're seeing the substance use issues, the stress, the cumulative trauma. We're seeing all this stuff. And guess what? You take this, you can make new curriculum on this. You can go back and look at how we're hiring. We can look at retention issues. We can look at the psychologicals differently. And yet it falls on deaf ears. We can go to major organizations and tell you what the issues are and how we can do this differently. And yet no one comes knocking. So you either want to solve this issue or you want to keep getting grant money to keep looking at the same issue the same way and never resolving anything.
You know, we talked about grant money on our last podcast. I want to touch on that. We got to take our first break. We will be right back with Dr. Olivia Johnson from the Blue Wall Institute. Stay tuned, everybody.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We are powered by the OBBM network, and we are blessed to have Dr. Olivia Johnson former military and law enforcement, and now a public speaker and advocate and researcher for our law enforcement wellness programs. Welcome back, Dr. Olivia Johnson. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sam.
You bet. We left talking about grants. And we've had many guests on the podcast over the years that have come on and said, hey, we got this grant and we did XYZ, like spot on particulars, best practices for that they brought into the department. And a lot of them sought out the expertise because it didn't live in the four walls of their department. They knew they weren't the be all end all. And I think a lot of other stuff we've seen is that, yeah, people get a grant and then it's just, they sit because it's almost, I don't know if it's a fear of them looking weak or a fear of them having people look at them like, what do you mean you don't know how to help us with our mental health? You're the leaders, right? Can you comment and expand on that?
Well, even with the grant money, you see the grant money being doled out by the government, right? And everybody has the same idea. It's the same entities getting the same grant money year after year because they know how to write a grant. And they keep producing the same stuff year after year. It's like we keep people, it's just like the insurance company. Certain things keep people sick and certain people are making money off of it. It's the same kind of idea. Have you seen anything really earth-shattering changing anything? Absolutely not. So the same grant monies keep getting doled out to the same people, and yet nothing is changing. It's just like the same concept when we said that, the prevention and intervention methods, millions and millions of dollars have been going out into these prevention and intervention, whether it's through billboards or handouts or, just programs in general. And yet the return on investment isn't there. Millions of people aren't being saved by these programs. In fact, thousands of people are dying every year by suicide and many more are attempting. Something else has to happen. Instead of doling out grant monies, we all need to come together and we all need to look at this program and this money being doled out and go, what can we do differently here? Instead of handing out thousands of dollars to every agency, why don't we stop doing that for a moment and stop doing this same old, here's the signs and symptoms of someone who's suicidal. Did they make a will? Did they say something? Did they do something? And go, that shit's not working, guys. Let's do something different here. What can we do that has measurable outcomes and we know is actually going to work? And the idea is, let's stop trying to wait until someone's in crisis and let's try to make people well so they don't get to the crisis point. It's a different concept. It's like we go, hey, guess what? We changed the suicide hotline. You guys have a 3-digit number now. It's 988. Guess what? We're saving lives. It's like, you're waiting till people are in crisis.
Right.
Why are we waiting till people are in crisis and then trying to save them now with the white horse? Why are we waiting until people are in crisis? Stop waiting until people are in crisis. We should have a minimal amount of people who ever get to the crisis point. We need to rethink how we're doing this. And the model we have is not working. So and yet we're still here.
Yeah. Did you have a law enforcement background? Did you see things at that department and your military, of course, that kind of set the tone to where you were able to see, hey, this isn't working?
No, I think when I was doing my stuff, I was just trying to help people that needed help. I saw that they needed help and I would help them when they needed it. I didn't, I think now we are waiting until people are in crisis. We're not stepping in when we see the need. I think there is a predictable level of like a mental health thing. Like we can see people's needs and we're dismissive. We wait until it absolutely necessarily needs to be done, when right now there is a predictability of things happening where I can see things that need to be done. Like if I look around and I see that my neighbor's yard is a foot tall, I might go knock on the door and say, hey, do you need me to mow your yard? And then I might say, is there a problem? Is your mower broke? Do you need help with this? Where someone else might call the city and say, hey, this is out of ordinance. You need to write them a ticket. We need to stop being that neighbor and start inquiring about why the yard is so long, going to our neighbor, having the relationship and asking, what's the problem? Can I help you? And we're not doing that. And
you mean being human?
Yeah, and that's number one on our fatal 10 is our interpersonal relationship issues.
Right.
We are lacking the ability to make connections with people on a human level, and that's what's leading to many of our problems. We want everyone to be human with us, but we fail to be human with other people unless somehow it benefits us. And whether it's we're on our cell phones, we're on our computers, we just don't care, we don't have time, whatever it is, we're not making that connection. We're not making it in our own homes. So how can we make it with someone outside of our home? Right. And
John does a great job in our workshops talking exactly about this and how as I'll just say law enforcement, our heads are so into the next call, or I've got to get this report done, or just on to the next. And we fail to miss the signs with the people that we're supposed to be there to back them up, and vice versa.
Sometimes we're not even into the helping people, like protect and serve. That serve part is a huge part. The serve part is, and when I say huge, I mean huge. We're not out there kicking in doors and doing all the other part. That serve part is a huge part. When you see a need, you help. And it's not always how we see it. We see the shows on TV where they're doing all the bad shit and it looks cool. But that serve part is how you build the relationships in your community. It's how you mend things that have been broken, and sometimes that we have broken, and very badly in many cases, that we can help mend in very simple ways. And we fail to see that connection. You know, building human relationship means that we need to be, when we're seen in uniform, that officer presence can have a really bad feel to some people. They don't like it because it has that feel sometimes of authority that some people don't want to see. So you have to tone it down. And sometimes you can do that by just looking and feeling human to other people. And it can be something very kind and very gentle. And you do it just by being a decent person and doing something very kind and gentle. And we miss the opportunity to do that many times. Like, I'll give you an example. Recently, I was on my way to a store and I saw a dog running in the street. And this couple had tried to catch it before it got hit. I had a leash in my car. I stopped. I said, "Hey guys, I'll help you if you want." They said, "That'd be great." I got out. I saw a cop down the street with his lights on, thinking he was going to stop and help me. He's a beautiful white shepherd. And I went back and I said, "Hey, did you happen to catch that dog?" He goes, "No, it's not my job. But if that dog gets hit, I'll come back and do a report." And I said, you got to be kidding me, right? He goes, "No." I said, "So let me get this straight. So if the dog gets hit in the street, you'll come back and do a report on the dog because he impeded traffic." I said, "That's funny. If that had been a police dog, you'd have everybody in the county coming out to help that dog because the dog's life now has more importance." And I was so disgusted. I just had to pull away. And I thought, this is what's wrong with policing right now. And this is why people don't like you sometimes, because that's the mentality that we have and that we are sharing with other people. And if you had said that to the average citizen, they would have went and reported you. And I know they're chief, and I was still going to go say something, but it just made me so angry, because that's the mentality that we have right now. And we can't have that mentality anymore. And we've got to start making that connection to other people.
That's a twofold problem right there.
Yes.
And this is the way I see it. Okay. Not to back up what that cop said, but okay, nowadays cops have been slandered. They've been demoralized so much that they just beat up so much they don't want to deal with the public anymore. That's one. In their mental mindset, they're just like, screw this. It's not even a passion for the job anymore. It's just a job. I'm going to go to work, and that's not what law enforcement used to be. It was never just a job. It was a passion. It was a calling. It was a career. You know, now it's just give me my paycheck. Let me do my job and go home. That's where a lot of mentality is. A lot of the younger cops that are coming in now are all in this generational aspect where it's all about me. It's not about the other person. They're very selfish. So they have that split mindset. You know, so what do we do about that on getting police to be more respected in their careers and their callings, and not just a job? Because a job, you can go work for Taco Bell, you know, you can go work for Racetrack. Cops aren't getting paid millions of dollars, they're just they're just getting by. So a lot of them have this, well, not my problem attitude. And that's not the type of cops we want on the street. We want cops that are going to take initiative, that are going to serve, like you said, the public eye. They have to be proactive in things. And I think we're losing that because of the community outrage, because of politicians not backing up our officers in certain situations. They feel beat up like it's just a job.
But John, I'll say this, and let me argue to both sides of that, because we blanket statement a lot of things, and I've noticed that in our research too. We blanket statement like cops don't make a lot of money. I'll up you on that one. On a lot of places, they do make a lot of money, even with the cost of living. There are places that cops make good money, and so we blanket a lot of things. We also blanket things like those who serve, they're all heroes, right? We do that. And I'll give you an example. Let me say this. I love my law enforcement. I love my military, but there are people behind this badge and from our research that are not heroes, and they make the ones that do serve honorably look bad. So when we blanket those things, I get upset about that, because there are ones behind there that are not serving honorably. And those are the ones that are often seen in the public eye that make them hate our career field as well. So I've gotten really good about not blanketing things when I talk about cops and our first responders, because you will find that there are certain ones that really stand out, that when we blanket those things, it sets them apart. And I've gotten really good about making sure that when I discuss certain things, that I don't just go, hey, they're getting a bad deal, because a lot of times they're not. Because
no. I agree. I agree with you on that, the blanket statement. But this goes back to recruitment. We are at the lowest recruitment times throughout our nation, right? So they're picking from the bottom of the barrel. They're not picking.
Well, I will argue from our research on that too. They say we're digging from the bottom of the barrel and we're getting these, but I'll tell you this, John, from our research, we can say that we're digging bottom of the barrel, but I'll tell you at times we're already there. And I'll tell you that from our research. When we look at the fatal 10, those are under investigation in our research. Though it was a small group, the majority of those under investigation were under investigation for child sex crimes and child pornography. And I will tell you this, I have a database right now that's looking at an additional group that are also under investigation for deviant child sex crimes, and in additional to additional adult sex crimes. And I'm over 450 right now, with 3 large binders left to look into. So that's why I don't blanket anything, because we don't do adequate backgrounds. We don't do adequate selection processes, and they do hide behind the badge. We don't have standards. In some way, we don't even have standards sometimes.
Yeah. Right. So I think this is a perfect opportunity, as soon as we come back from our next break, to talk about, we talked about a little bit before we came live, the inoculation versus the prevention, and what that really means, so that we can have healthy, functioning departments. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and the wonderful Dr. Olivia Johnson, who is, I love to debate, Olivia. I really do. When before we ended the last segment, me and you were just not fighting, but going back and forth, and I love that, because we had 2 guys on the show a couple of weeks ago from 22-0, right? Okay. And he made a statement where he turned around and he said, we can cure post-traumatic stress. And I called bullshit. I said, no way, no how. You're not going to do it. You can help it. You're not going to cure it. So he one-upped me, said, hold my beer, flew here to Texas.
Research.
Research. And this is why I love this show, because it educates me every single time we do the show. Because I may be saying something out of line or saying something wrong, and I don't want to do that. And this is why this show is so important, because it not only educates me and you, Sam, with all our guests, it educates the public. So when 220 turned around and they said they could do that, I said bullshit, and they flew here to Texas, and I went through there. I went through a 2-hour session with them, and blew my mind because one of the triggers was totally eliminated. Totally eliminated. I have not had that trigger so far in 3 months. And I was like, wow, you proved me wrong. That's what I want. I want to be proven wrong, because I may be sharing stuff that is not right. Or like you said, blanket statements. And we got to get rid of those blanket statements for everybody. We got to be able to make sure that the research behind it backs it. And that's what you're providing. And I thank you for it.
Oh, no worries. I appreciate you having, me on here for a place to talk about this stuff. It's important, because we want to make sure that the ones that are doing the job, that are doing good, aren't sitting there behind these people that aren't doing good. And I think a lot of people, we have a lot of false narratives, and we'll come back to the inoculation thing, but there's a lot of false narratives out there that the majority of these suicides are PTSD related or they're job related. And we can prove with research that they're not. And that's one of the components that we have some of these people that are getting ready to go to prison, or they are in prison because of some of these things that they're doing, and they're not all job related. So that's part of the false narrative. But as
let me
ask something on this.
John, you and I, the two of the suicides that we found out about were not PTS related. Right. So, I mean, it's so we understand, it's like, you can't group everybody into, they had this trauma, and this was their way out. Some of it wasn't,
but
that
it wasn't all job related. I get that.
Yeah.
But it goes back to when you're talking about, when we go back to recruitment, and I know in the beginning, before we started the show, we're talking about, we got to do research prior to them becoming law enforcement, because many people's coping mechanisms are skewed before they even put on the badge, right? So they've had childhood traumas, teenage traumas, marriage traumas, alcohol problems, all this stuff. They've, in debt, whatever, gambling, they've had all this piled up, right? So now they put on a uniform and they feel that's all going to be cured. And then they get a few little different stresses within the job, and they take their life because they can't cope anymore.
But John, that's part of the thing, is people don't want to recognize the traumas and the stress they had before they came in the job, because they haven't. See, a lot of that stuff doesn't come out. When they're younger, they were able to deal with it and kind of maneuver through life. They get into law enforcement. They think that they're fine. Things don't get triggered until they start getting into the career. Right. So they don't believe that anything was wrong with them right away. Right. So once they start getting triggered, then they think it was the job. In fact, we had, 4 LA County Sheriff's officers within 24 hours, right? Before anything even came out about those, even their names. We had people online saying it was PTSD. I said, you don't even know who these people are.
Right. They didn't even, exactly. It was people from not even close to living in the same state.
There were clinicians online making this comment, and I said, how can you even say that? That is so dangerous to make these comments online. And they apologized, but I said, you can't say that. And part of the thing is, people don't want to come to the reality. Cops don't want to come to the reality. I said, there's more stigma. Yeah, you say stigma around mental health, but you know what else there's stigma around? Child sexual crimes. You don't want to believe your buddy was downloading porn or raping babies or whatever it is. I said, that has stigma. Beating your wife has stigma. There's a lot of things that have stigma. But when we talk about like inoculation, that inoculation component comes in when we talk about getting to someone before they start having issues in childhood, young adulthood. We want to inoculate them, which teaches them skills and builds resiliency early on so that they can deal with those things that they go through in the home and in school and carry into the workplace. You won't see those same issues coming into the workplace, and we're going to deal with them one way or the other. Either you take care of those people when they're younger, because if you don't take care of them, they're going to go into some workplace. That's why you're seeing school shooters and you're seeing people that have violence in the workplace. You're going to see them and deal with them in some form as a first responder. So we want to make people healthy and well, regardless of who they are or what occupation they're in, because they're either going to reoffend in their home right? As a young child, they're going to reoffend at school, or they're going to reoffend in their own home as an adult. So you want to try to make these people well, and you want to give them good coping skills.
And I got to tell you, I can relate to that so much, because as Sam will tell you, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a victim of sexual abuse. I was sexually abused for 2 years as a child, right? So I held that in, and I didn't let it go for over 40 years, right? So what happened was, everybody thought the stresses of 9/11, all the shootings and stabbings and robberies and everything I saw on the job, right, contributed to my suicide attempt. But after I went through counseling, that was the root. That was the root of it.
The anger, the blame, the shame. I mean, especially for the men, that's what we're seeing a lot of that. So what we're doing is our new kind of research actually came out of the Fatal 10 based on this child sexual stuff. We're seeing some adverse event in the young person's life, mostly the men that we're seeing, is one of the precipitating events leading them into this type of service, whether it be military, law enforcement, something leading them into this type of work. And they don't realize that they've had this event, or they do, and they've buried it so deep that it's not really well known. They kind of work their way through this career and they carry it with them. But for men, it's just one of these, it's so profound, because this loss of power and then trying to gain it back in some way through their work. Some will internalize it and have years of drinking and self-blame and shame and do whatever. Some will actually take that power and abuse it, which we see in many of our cases, to other people. So it's really profound how it comes out. But we're taking this to build a profile, if you will, of trying to understand how we can head off this from happening, from them becoming either internalizing or externalizing it, and actually having issues for themselves, or victimizing other people in the future, because it really does do one or the other normally. So we're trying to really inoculate that behavior, because eventually it's gonna lead you down a couple different paths.
Right.
And I mean, it'll tear you apart. And for men, it's just so much different really than women in the way that it comes out. It's just, we look at it so much differently.
It is. And it's about control and power and the loss of it. And now what do I do? And all the questions. And we got to take our next break. We will come back and continue this really, important conversation. We'll be right back, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Edge On podcast with John and Sam, and our guest, Dr. Olivia Johnson. I got to say that Carrying Texas voiceover you did, Sam, is amazing. It is every time I hear it, I'm like, wow, she knocked that one out of the park.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I have to credit Susan and the OBBM media training, because I went down there. They're amazing. If you want to start a podcast, you want to do some kind of interviewing and learn that craft, check, just go to OBBM Network and call the number from our previous commercial and schedule some time, because it's very eye-opening learning how to use your voice in different ways. Speaking of learning how to use your voice, Doc Johnson, talking about childhood ACEs and pulling back the curtain on that. John and I had known each other for 2 years, two, maybe even 3, before he shared that story about being sexually abused. It's an integral part of what we do because our practitioner that's on our team, John Edmondson, he also talks about ACEs from his childhood, and he's in the business. And you have to normalize these kinds of conversations in order to help people, I think, understand where this a point where all of a sudden we feel out of control, because it's not all of a sudden, it's the build up of shit over time. And then, the first thing is down in the box. And like John says, then it all comes flying out and you're like, oh, fuck, now what do I do? Trying to shove everything back in the box so nobody sees it. We're a blithering mess. How is it a matter of just talking about it, keeping it on the forefront and saying, hey, it's okay. It is absolutely okay. Now you realize, now you're aware, right? The cat's out of the bag. Now's the time to take the next step.
But even in most of the interviews, that when you go for a police officer, they're not going to ask you those questions. A lot of the interview process. Have you ever smoked weed? Have you ever been involved in a crime? They don't ask these questions. And like you said before, Olivia, is that we're not doing proper investigations. We're not doing background checks. We're not asking neighbors and family and friends and things of the past, because cops, if they can do one good thing, they could hide shit real well.
Well, maybe they should get the United States Secret Service polygraph team.
Well, see, and that's another thing. When I got on the job, they never did a polygraph test on me. They never did any of that stuff. Not that maybe it would have changed. Who knows? But we're great liars. We are. And we can get to hide stuff. And that later on in life, either during your career, at a scene, or after retirement, it's going to come out and it's going to hurt you or somebody else.
Yeah. And I work with a great clinical cohort, Dr. Jory Crossan, at the Blue Wall, and we also work together at Responder Health. And I'll tell you, he does a lot of this stuff. He's a former police chief from Florida, and he is a clinical component as well. But he talks a lot about this stuff when they do interviewing and different things. And I don't think a lot of this stuff comes out initially, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of it when it happens at a younger age. I just think that it gets buried so deep. And I really think that it's detrimental, and I think it doesn't come out right away. I start to wonder is, when a lot of cops say that the most, instrumental things that happen to them during their career have to do with children. And I really have to wonder, those are really bad calls that you have, but I'm wondering if it's deeper than that, if it's really deeper than that, if it has to do with things in your childhood, not just that it relates to maybe the age of your child, but maybe it's something deeper that we're subconsciously really, not thinking about, but it's there. So right. I think there's a lot more to be looked at. And we're starting to look at a lot more research in this realm that really came out of the Fatal 10. And I think that we can really look at this inoculation piece a lot differently, because Dr. Jory talks about how much of your personality and how much stuff really is formed at this young age. And they do talk about, there's certain things that are really formed early on and that really are impactful to a young child that happen as far as trauma goes. And it really spans quite a ways as you age. But, there are many things that happen early on that you really don't think about as a young person, but they are so detrimental as you get into your 40s and 50s that really start impacting you as a person, your relationships. There's a reason that cops drink, and they drink heavily. And I don't think a lot of it has to do with the job so much as what you experienced early on that's starting to catch up with you and it's being triggered.
It makes you relive all those past traumas.
Yes. And you keep it, the more you drink, the less you think about it. I think a lot of times it's the stuff that you dealt with early on that you think you have your shit together because you got through it, but it's just getting re-triggered by the job, and it's starting to come out because, there's a reason they joke about having 2 or 3 marriages. the reason you have 2 or 3 marriages isn't because you pick the wrong bar and you pick the wrong beer. And it's because of you. There's something in you that's attracting these people that's dysfunctional, and it feels good, but it's something in you that's getting triggered, and it's pulling this dysfunction in. It's like we got to stop for a moment and realize that something is going on here, that it's continuing to be a cycle, and we really need to take a deeper look here at what's going on. And it's really, you can feel it. You start to see this when you start to see cops, and you start to look, you start to see these red flags popping up, right? And you're like, you're continuously going like, wait a second, something isn't right here. And deep down, you can't keep blaming everything on you, deep down. But again, if everybody else is doing the same thing that you're doing, you just keep going out to the same bar and blaming everybody else and the beer and the bar. And after a while, it's just a joke.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to blame the job. It is so easy to blame the job.
And what do? It's the new go-to. We blame it we blame the job for our failed relationships. We blame it for drinking too much because it helps us cope. We blame it for not sleeping right. We blame, shift work. It's everything. I mean, it's not for staying up too late at the game. We blame the job for everything from suicide to bad relationships. It's the job. And it's the go-to. That's what we do now.
Well, that's part of what we learned from Warrior Path program and Struggle Well is, you have to stop with the victim. You have to stop putting blame on everything else, because when you point a finger, 3, as you can see on the screen, 3 are pointing back at you. And that saying has a lot of merit and teeth. Before we go to our next break, we have taught the fatal 10 has come up, and then we've just gone on to something else. So real quick, what are the fatal 10?
Okay, so interpersonal relationship issues, substance use and addiction, stress and trauma, chronic sleep deprivation or sleep issues. Okay, mental health issues. Hang on, you caught me off guard here. Physical health issues, firearms access, which all of us have, right? That carry firearms or have them in the home. Pending or nearing retirement, being under investigation, and then literally kind of a catch-all, but it's kind of any other major life events.
There we go. Yeah. And guys, if you want more, I have the website. I've had it up on the screen for everybody listening. It's bw-institute.com, and the BW, obviously blue wall. So bw-institute.com. What?
I just want to reiterate to our listeners that top 10 was not in any order.
The fatal 10. Yeah, we don't want to be top in any of that.
Yeah, that was not in that was just a random order. That was not like saying, under investigation was like number 9, but that could be like number 3.
David Letterman.
It was kind of in an order. I think I had one of them out of order, but that was literally that was almost in the order in which we found them in the research. So, and your listeners, if they get in touch with me afterwards, I will send them a free e-copy of our book and a copy of the Fail 10 flyer too.
Awesome. We got to take our next break. We'll be right back.
To the Health Engineer Show. I'm Cliff Buckley, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat.
Hi, I'm Larry Cortamp.
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat.
Hi, this is Doreen Milano. Welcome to Big Ideas Small Business, where we will be talking to Terry Arjala.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast. Hey, we caught you off guard there, Olivia.
I was looking at my notes.
Welcome back to the Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with the wonderful Dr. Olivia Johnson. Man, we've been talking about a lot of things, a lot of information to chew on throughout this podcast. But if you take anything out of this podcast right now, is we got to stop placing blame on our careers and start taking accountability and researching what we have inside our own selves, and I felt that, it took me 40 years to learn that. And if we can start bringing this to our younger generation, to our newer recruits, and getting the families more involved in a lot of stuff, maybe we won't see this in 10 years. So the inoculation is a great step in I know you hate the word prevention, but the inoculation is a great step in helping cope later on generations. Did I say that right, Doc?
Or understand.
Or understanding?
Build awareness.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
Well, an inoculation really is getting to the issues before they get kind of planted, if you will, and take root. So an inoculation is not having the issue start at all, whereas a prevention is it's already happened and we're trying to prevent the next one. So inoculation in essence is it's not going to happen ever, or it's not going to happen again, right?
Right.
So again, it's just it's a changing of the mindset, if you will. Like if you know how you don't have marriage problems, you start talking about issues before you ever have them. It's like, I remember when I first got, married to my husband and we were in the military, and they said, well, to get married at the base chapel, you have to go through some, 2 or 3 marriage counseling sessions. I mean, shit, we're in love. We don't need that. Like, right? Shit, what did I know? I mean, if I'd have known now what I know then, I'm like, God, you're stupid. You should have you should have got 3 extra ones, right? Right? But we were young and in love, and how dare you mention that to us? They don't know us, right? But we didn't know what we didn't know. Now, if they came to us and said, listen, we understand that you guys are in love. If they would have approached it differently and said, we really want this to last, and we understand that you guys are madly in love. If they would have approached it differently, they could have set the tone differently. Sometimes it's how they bring it and they set it to you. They want to kind of hammer it to you and tell you how, they don't set the tone right. If you can change it a little bit, you plant the seed differently. So like, for example, if I walked into a class recently up in Chicago and I had a whole theater of officers, and at lunch, I was just joking with them. I said, listen, at lunch, I'm staying here. I got a lunch and learn. I got a 30-minute class in the next auditorium. It's for you guys. If you've ever been financially irresponsible, just follow me. And they all sat there for about 30 seconds. And you could hear a pin drop. And I said, hey man, I'm just joking, right? They all started laughing. They got up and left. And I said, what's funny is, if somebody was really sitting in that room and needed help, they wanted to come with me. But if one guy got up, they would all make fun of him. And yet the ones that laughed would have needed it the most. So what we started doing is, if you need financial help, what you do is you set the tone, you make a flyer, and you say, listen, we want to teach your kids how to be financially, responsible. So you set the tone is you want to help your kids. They come to the class, they learn the information as well as their kids that they're going to teach, right? You plant the seeds softly and differently. You're still getting them what they need. They're going to teach their kids, and it just sets the tone differently. We don't teach the parents what they need to know about money. Growing up, my parents, when I wanted to learn about money, they said, mind your own damn business. This is our, this is parent stuff. You don't need to know. They didn't understand that I needed to know that too. So they didn't teach me what I needed to learn. And I didn't learn it along the way because as a woman, I was supposed to be, child was supposed to be seen and not heard. So I never picked up what I needed to learn. And now I don't feel like I'm ready for that. I don't feel like I learned everything I needed to. So I had to pick it up on my own. So we have to teach people things in a different way, and we have to plant those seeds differently so that they get it. So
how do we do that? How do we do that with the first responder?
So you have to, again, you want to teach your children something. You just do things a little bit differently and you tweak it. Not everything has to be mental health and wellness, and you don't have to throw tactical in front of every damn thing so they show up, right? Sometimes you have to make it mandatory.
That's how they show up.
Or they'll go to
continuing ed credits and food.
Yeah, even then you can't get them to go. They also have to have some accountability here.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the agency has to mandate it, because here's the thing. Not everybody likes to go, and it's too bad. If you're going to be the bad guy and make them go. They're going to bitch about it one way or the other, make them go. And I say that because if you don't want to take personal accountability, and getting credit for it isn't going to get you to go, and free food ain't going to get you to go, there ain't a damn thing going to make you go unless it's the health department and you're getting tracked down because you got an STD. There ain't nothing else going to make you go. So here's the deal. You just ain't going to like it, folks, right? So sometimes you just got to be mandated to go. And the agency needs to step up, and they need to make it happen. We've got to get this turned around. Like when I was in the military, I felt like if you didn't provide me with something and I needed it, I just went. There was just this obligation. It's something in your values, just your personal values. You do it. I didn't get a vest for my agency. You know what I did on my day off? I went up to the state police and I dug through barrel after barrel after barrel to find a vest that fit. And the one that fit, had blood all over the inside because somebody got shot in it. And you know what? I wore that damn thing every day that I worked, because I knew that somebody sacrificed wearing that damn thing, and it was given to me for free from the master quarter. It's just, you do what you have to do and you show up. And we have lost that. We have lost the ability to just go do training and put your ass in a seat and do what you got to do and have some integrity behind it, unless somebody's giving you something for it. If you want to be called a hero, damn it, show up and do the work. And we've got to get back to that mindset. And somehow we have lost this ability. Show other people the example and be proud of the uniform you put on, and do it, and do it without having to get pat on the back for doing it. And that's the officers that I want to see showing up at training. And you might not like it, but guess what? I tell them, this training may not be for you. When you show up at the Fatal 10, a lot of times you're not showing up here for you. You're showing up because I tell you in my training that everyone in your household is at risk for suicide. Everyone in your household is at risk for something bad happening, like your kids. The top 3 reasons that your teenagers are dying are accidents, homicide, and suicide. So you need to sit in that chair and you need to listen to what I have to tell you, because someone in your house could die today if you don't listen. And they sit there and they take in what I have to tell them. Your coworker is at risk, right? The coworker that didn't show up for work, that no-show, stop writing that person up for being dereliction of duty or just
didn't find them. Right?
They're not showing up because something is wrong. And instead of writing that up and being punitive in nature and giving them time off and taking money from their paycheck, go sit down and find out what's wrong. Make a relationship with them. Find out what the hell is going on. Stop opening an investigation on their ass and start sitting down with them and find out what the hell is going on in their life. And let's get back to being not friends, but being, in a relationship with the people in your agency, because stuff is going on in their lives. And
Doc, the time has just flown by. We knew this was going to happen. We're going to definitely have you back on.
We'd have to have a part 2 on it,
because there's lots of stuff. You've got a documentary that just came out, guys. The website has been up, bw-institute.com. Doc Johnson, where can people connect with you?
At the Blue Wall Institute. Just Google it. And real quick, Is There Something Going On at Home is the documentary Jason Harney and Deb Ortiz put out. It's wonderful. When the movie comes out, you guys have got to see it. It is hands down amazing.
Absolutely. And it was all over your LinkedIn page. So connect with Doc Johnson. Thank you so much. Again, we will have you back on. This was I don't know about you, but it's just mind-blowing information. Really makes you think not only about personal accountability, but it's like, what's the next right thing that you can do? And you're human. Let's remember that. We're all human in the end. Yeah. Let's start acting like it. Thank you so much. We'll definitely be in touch.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This just awesome. Incredible.
Man, that was an expressway. Woo.
I know. But if you go to the website, there is so much amazing stuff on there to take in. You could take the whole day and to go on the deep dives. That's why we got to do a part 2, because we're gonna go over more. Speaking of the number 2, there are 2 ways to give starting tomorrow, this week.
Tuesday.
Tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. And there's lots of incredible nonprofits as part of the Giving Tuesday campaign. If you're looking to directly give back and make an impact in the life of a first responder, please consider giving to a badge of honor. Every dime goes into our programming that we bring to the first responders in our 8-hour workshop. We also have the ability to come out and give on Wednesday in person over on my side of town in Rockwall. If you're in Rockwall, Texas, in and around, drive on in, drive over to Siren Rock Brewing Company and join us at Patriots Pour. All this month, Patriots Pour has been raising money for us. Again, the money goes to our local first responders. We want to thank Patriots Pour for everything that they've done this month for us and all of the nonprofits that they've chosen in prior months and beyond. we've really become a new family, a new tribe out there, and it's really exciting. So come on out starting at 4 p.m. Tomorrow at Siren Rock Brewing Company. You can visit our website.
No, Wednesday.
I'm sorry, tomorrow is Tuesday. On Wednesday, come out to Siren Rock. Tomorrow, give on Giving Tuesday. Everything's going so fast. So Giving Tuesday tomorrow, Patriots Pour on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we have got our First Responder Wellness and Resiliency Workshop. Thank you, Garland Police Department and the Law Enforcement Mental Health Alliance. Our key sponsors. We've got a jam-packed 8-hour program that really turns what it means to, smash the stigma around mental health. We heard a lot of what Dr. Olivia Johnson said tonight, and stuff that, John touches on. It is about awareness. It is about taking personal responsibility. It's about making the choices, because if you see it, you can't unsee it. In our career, we see a lot we can't unsee. And at this workshop, we're going to talk about a lot that you will be aware, and you can't go back to, you just can't. You can't. You have to keep moving forward, and we'll give you those steps to do that. So that's this Friday, 8:30 a.m. Go to our website to find out registration information. And guys, thank you for joining us each and every week. If you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Or don't. I'm just going to say, we got subscribe. We hope that we're bringing you the information that is making a difference. And we're going to continue to do so. To all the first responders out there, thank you so much for what you do. We are praying for you every single day. To our veterans, thank you for standing up and putting the good fight so that John and I can speak freely, have guests on that can speak freely every single week. And to all the active duty personnel around the world, thank you for keeping us safe here at home. John, take us home.
Just bring up 2024 is going to be a great season for a Badge of Honor. We're going to be doing more workshops and fundraisers, and we're going to be doing a mental health comedy show coming in April 5th. So mark your calendar, and we'll keep you updated on the when, where, and how. You can be a part of it. You can be a sponsor of it and help our law enforcement community laugh off the stress instead of internalizing it. So once again, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Keep doing the great fight. Listen to what Dr. Olivia Johnson said, man. We got to take personal accountability. And if you can be anything in this world, please be kind. Peace.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.